On today's show, the LA Clippers' first preseason game occurred on Saturday night, and it ended in heartbreaking fashion, you can say, with a game winner from the Golden State Warriors. But who cares about preseason results? How did the Clippers look in their first preseason game with this new look team? Going to be talking about it all on today's Locked On Preseason Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You were locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, born and raised in LA and entering my 20th season as a Clipper fan this month. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, LA Sports, NBA, and WNBA content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Let me know what you thought of the first preseason game for our boys in red, white, and blue. That's right. I've been waiting, 7 years to say that again? Red, white, and blue. The Clippers have always been red, and we should still be red. And before we talk about the red Clippers, they were actually wearing the white jerseys. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Head over to FanDuel for all your betting needs, including the MLB playoffs, the NFL season, and of course, the upcoming NBA season. FanDuel.com is where to go. In this episode, I am going to be talking about everything that I noticed in this game. Of course, the majority of it will be from the first 2.5 quarters, because once we put in the end of the bench guys, the guys on training camp deals, the game just tends to kind of get unserious and low quality. I'll still talk about some of those guys, but I just felt as though it was bad hoops, if I'm being honest. A lot of missed shots, not great possessions from both sides, and it ended with a game-winning shot by Waters III for Golden State. So shout out to him. It was a really nice shot, great play drawn up by Steve Kerr and the Warriors coaching staff. But to me, that doesn't really matter. I'm going to spend very little time talking about that fourth quarter because we lost 91-90, but who cares, right? So, of course, we know that Kawhi Leonard's not playing right now in the preseason. He probably won't play any of the preseason games. He hasn't even begun basketball activity. So he's going to be taking it easy. And by the way, I'm going to be talking about what was promising, the pros in the first segment. Second segment, going to be looking at some of the concerns I had. And then the news around PJ Tucker that just came out on Sunday. So we're going to be talking about that. Now, let's start with some of the positives. So the starting lineup without Kawhi, and I would not take this to the bank. Of course, we know that Zubac and Harden are going to start, but I would say everyone else is up for grabs. The other three starters in this game were Kris Dunn, Norman Powell, and Derrick Jones. So essentially, you have Derrick Jones playing the 4, quote-unquote, and then a 3-guard set of Harden, Powell, and Dunn. Now, of course, that's not going to be our starting lineup. And let's say Kawhi's out. I still don't think that should be our starting lineup. I would rather go with Terance over Kris Dunn and bring Kris Dunn off the bench. And I'm going to explain why. Because Kris Dunn, he's a better defender than Terance. And you see that in this game. But shooting the ball, I know he had that one season last year in Utah where he shot pretty well. And then the season before, on a smaller sample size, he shot 47%. But he played 22 games. So I'm not really taking the 47% to the bank. The 37% from the field in 66 games, that looks decent. But the way the Warriors were playing him and the way he was playing led me to believe that Terance Mann is probably a better shooter than him. Again, one game, but we'll see how that materializes. I also think Terance just gives us a little bit more size and is more comfortable off the ball than Kris Dunn. So that would be my choice on that. But there's no point of talking about what the starting lineup should be without Kawhi. So how we looked. First of all, we looked great in terms of aesthetics. That uniform is beautiful. But I thought you can see some of what's going to be good with this team. Like James Harden clearly looks a little bit slimmer. He had some good moments of getting downhill, some really good passes in the pick and roll with Zubac, some good entry passes, had a 4-point play. First of all, again, 2 straight possessions I thought it was where he got fouled on a 3. I've never quite seen anybody get fouled on threes like Harden. I also feel as though he looks for a foul every time he takes a contested three and has for many, many years, which made me very annoyed when I was, it's still, I can't lie. Even though he's on my team, it still kind of annoys me. I mean, when we get the call, it's great. And when it is a foul, it's great. But like that second one, for example, like I thought that he landed with 2 feet and the momentum of whoever it was hit him after he had planted with 2 feet. And in my opinion, a very strong guy like James Harden is not getting pushed to the floor like that. He sold that call. And again, I have no problem with it if it helps our team. But it's just, I've seen him time and time again in the playoffs. He won't get the same call. And when it's not going, it can be very annoying. And it was funny because Norman Powell gets a really, really good whistle too. And he tried like some kind of foul baiting on a three at one point of the game. He didn't get it. But overall, James Harden still showed some really good stuff. Especially in the first quarter. That no-look pass he had to Zoo, I mean, there's still a lot there with James. 13 points, 2 boards, 8 assists, 2 steals. He had some moments of good hands, deflections. So some solid stuff there. He was only 2 for 6 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3. So that 3 he made was that 4-point play, and 8 for 8 from the line in just 17 minutes. Zubats, I thought he was showing some good stuff offensively. We fed him the ball in the low post a couple of times, and I think he was 3 for 4 or so when he went one-on-one around the basket. He had at least, the most impressive play was the first left block post touch he had. He hit a running hook going towards the middle. You see Zubats hit jump hooks usually, but not the running hook. That might be something new added to his arsenal. Maybe he was always in his arsenal, and we haven't fed him the ball enough to find out. I love that. I also thought Harden made a little bit more of a concerted effort to give Zoo the ball. Another guy who, by the way, Zoo's stat line in this one, again, he only played the first half, just the same as Harden. 18 minutes, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block on 5 for 6 shooting for Zoo and 4 for 4 from the line in 18 minutes of play. I thought he was arguably our best player. And then Norman Powell, I thought he was super aggressive. Like right away, 10 seconds into the game, he fakes a pass and shoots a right wing semi-contested 3 and drains it. And he had some really good moments of getting downhill, some great finishes, even one wraparound with the left hand where he came up on the other side. So some really solid stuff from Norm, who hopefully can stay healthy enough to compete for a 6th Man of the Year spot, because he is getting paid a decent chunk of money, $19 million a year. I don't have a problem with Norman Powell's game and consistency. But what I thought stood out in this game was defensively, I saw a good effort from Norm, and he talked about it after the game, about trying to go back to those early Raptors days in UCLA where he was a better defender. And he talked about it. It's his off-ball defense that's usually bad. His lack of attention to detail, lack of effort on the rebounds, losing sight of his man, that kind of thing. So if he locks in there and just ramps up the defensive effort on ball just a little bit, I think he'll be a very solid defender that won't even be a liability. Will he be good? Not sure. But if he can be average, because I would say last season he was a little below average, but he was average for most of the season, which is kind of the same with James Harden last season, contrary to popular belief. I thought he was average defensively last season overall, below average. I'd say slightly below average, but for a lot of the season, he was average to decently good, James Harden, when we were playing well. And that's mostly to do with good hands and stuff, but his effort wasn't too bad. And the great Willis Reed always says, or said, rest in peace, that defense is like, I forget the exact number he used, but it was between 70 to 90% effort. And whatever that number was, I agree with it. It's a want-to thing. And some people just aren't interested in defense. But Norman Powell, he even got a block one-on-one guarding Brandon Pajimski. I was surprised. I was like, okay, when was the last time I saw Norman Powell block a jump shot? So great to see that. Norm finished with 11 points on 5 for 7 shooting, 1 for 2 from 3 in 15 minutes. And I thought one of the main takeaways I had that I loved was the defensive potential is right there. It's right in front of everyone's face. Derrick Jones, Terance Mann, Kris Dunn. I mean, Kris Dunn was really getting after it. Good usage of hands, got some deflections. Obviously, I mentioned James Harden, solid use of hands. But we've got some good defensive personnel. And this is without Nico and Kawhi. Of course, Nico just played in the Olympics. So they're probably taking it easy with him. And then Kawhi is, kind of rehabbing, working his way back. So defensively, I saw some really good potential. Really good potential. But coming up, I'm going to talk about some of the things that worry me. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Halloween lets us have fun with what scares us. But what about those fears that don't involve zombies and ghosts? I know a lot of people that are afraid of spiders. I know a lot of people that are afraid of abandonment. I know a lot of people that are afraid of a lot of different things. Some people are afraid of roller coasters. Well, I'm going to tell you this. Therapy is a great tool for facing your fears and finding ways to overcome them. Because sometimes the scariest thing is not facing our fears in the first place and holding ourselves back. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Overcome your fears with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. All right. So let's talk about some of the things that worried me. Look, Clipper Nation, I'm going to be honest. Without Kawhi Leonard, we're not very good. And I'm not saying that just because of one game in the preseason. I know these players. Like, the players that we have to see more from, Kobe Brown, Jordan Miller, those guys, I don't think they're going to be getting consistent rotation minutes. Maybe Kobe Brown. He seems the highest in the pecking order. But Jordan Miller, because he's on a two-way contract, he seems to be thrown in there with the Cam Christies of the world and whatnot. I don't know if those guys are going to be getting a chance. So the other players, I know them. I've watched NBA basketball. Let's be honest about James Harden. Even with what everyone's saying about, oh, he's slim, all the stuff he's been talking about, how he's in the best shape he's been in a couple years, he's still 35 years old. He's still not the same guy he once was. He's a very good player that will probably be in consideration for an all-star spot this year. I think he will be. But he can't create separation like he once did. He's not as quick as he once was, as crafty as he still is. His stop-start, his footwork around the basket is phenomenal. He's very reliant on that step-back three or that sidestep three going in right now. Because that is what's there for him a lot. If teams switch, they're daring him to get downhill, in which case he'll still be able to get by a lot of the players in the league. But it's not like back in the day where like only a select few guys you can count on your hands could even guard him or even attempt to guard him. So you have that, and then, he doesn't elevate the same way around the basket. So when he does get there, it's not like an automatic two or automatic foul like it once was. And relying on James Harden so much throughout the season when Kawhi's out, I just don't know if that's feasible anymore to be a decent team. I think we could get some wins against bad teams, but against the good teams, I just don't think you can just ask James Harden to do everything. And like, as far as KPJ and Bones, I did not love what I saw with them on the court together. I think it's two players that are very similar, just like I've always said, that have this, they want to create, that's all they're really good at. I haven't seen too much of them with catch and shoot threes for me to say that they are good at that. I mean, in Bones' case, it doesn't look very smooth. I mean, he can still do it, but I think he's so much better with the ball in his hands and not good enough catching and shooting that I'm like, yeah, like, you should do that frequently. It's like, nah, you should probably be on the ball, trying to control things, trying to get hot, trying to push pace. Like, that's where I see Bones Highland in the NBA as a backup. KP, not to say that he can't get better at shooting, catching threes, and his percentage is probably decent, but it's like, it doesn't look like something he really even wants to do. And then KPJ, everybody was coming to me in the comments about, oh, you're sleeping on him and stuff like that. And again, it's one game. He's working his way back. But I've seen KPJ, and I've seen players like that where they average 20 on a bad team, a horrific team that had no structure, and people think like they're just amazing because they can get buckets and they're super talented. And it's like, yeah, KPJ is super talented. He can get buckets, but he does a lot of dribbling. He's not going to be the most efficient, I don't think. And, some of the passes that he and Bones are making were very wayward, very forced. So it's like, these are the type of guys that need to be aggressive. And like, I truly don't know if an offense led by those two will be a good offense in the NBA. I think Bones Highland, I'm willing to give him a chance to be that backup guard to do those things. And I think he can still be solid at it. But let's be honest, on the teams that he's been on, which have been championship contenders, quote unquote, with Denver and the Clippers, he has been pulled from the rotation. Or they replaced him. In the Clippers case, we traded for Harden and moved Westbrook to the point off the bench and took him out of the rotation. So he hasn't fully been involved in like a really winning team. He was a backup point guard the year that Jamal Murray was out in 2022, his rookie year. And he had that game, I think it was game 4 against the Warriors in that first round where he lit it up. But, that's an average team. I'm not saying that Bones can't be that guy, though. But I just think with KPJ, it just feels a little clunky. And as far as KPJ, here's one of the positives I'll give him. I actually thought his defense was pretty good. He was fighting hard over screens, using his length and athleticism to bother some guys. It was the offense that I thought was a little shaky, a little forced. Let's see what his stat line was off the bench. As far as Bones Highland, he played 13 minutes. He had 7 points, 4 rebounds, no assists, 1 turnover on 2 for 8 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. So again, he's shooting 25%, 0 for 4 from 2, but 2 for 4 from 3. It was okay from Bones. It was okay. Kevin Porter, 7 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 2 steals, 1 block. So there you go with the defense. 2 steals and a block. I'll take that. 4 turnovers, 1 for 5 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the line. Positives, he was aggressive, he played good D. Negatives, inefficient, took really tough shots, was dribbling a lot. And I just feel as though with Harden and the KPJ and even Bones, it's a lot of ball pounding going on. It's a lot of it. And I'm going to be honest, James Harden stands, close your ears and leave for the next 30 seconds, because that last 5 minutes, man, I'm not a hater for thinking that is horrific basketball. There was 3 possessions in a row that James came down the court, did not pass to anyone, dribbled for 14 plus seconds, and I think either 3 straight airball threes or 3 straight missed threes, or 2 missed threes really bad and 1 turnover where he tried to throw it in to Zoo. No one's touching the ball. No one's moving. Everyone's watching Harden dribble. And if that's what we're going to be subjected to this year, my God, I'm going to be, the alcohol purchases at Intuit Dome are going to be much higher for me, because that's crazy. That's not good basketball. And just because he makes the shot doesn't make it good basketball, because he's so brilliant he makes shots. That's not good hoops when no one touches the ball and everyone's just watching one guy dribble. It doesn't matter if it's James Harden or Kevin Porter or whoever it is. That's horrible. I can't believe that. And I was watching with a friend of mine who he used to watch basketball much more back in the 2000s. He only watches the playoffs now. He's watching those 5 minutes, and I was losing my mind. And he's like, what is going on here? He's not passing. I'm like, yeah, and people have come at me personally for not liking that. He's like, that's insane. I'm like, because I don't have to even clarify any further. I just wanted to say that because it was crazy. It was really crazy that people just don't see this, and they just only focus on the end result. Oh, he's still creating some space for a 3. Look, those possessions add up to me. So I'm worried about our offense being a little stagnant throughout the season. 1. 2, Kris Dunn, he doesn't look confident shooting the ball or spotting up at all. There was one time where Pods knew Podziemski on the Warriors. He's a very smart player. He knew he wasn't going to shoot, and he anticipated that pump fake and hard drive right and took a charge, or he tried to take a charge, and Kris Dunn ended up just running into him and losing the ball. And Kris Dunn was turning the ball over because he was indecisive shooting it. So I loved his defense, but he had 0 points and 4 turnovers and 0 assists, and he was 0 for 1. So offensively, it looked rough. He wasn't really creating anything, wasn't hitting threes, or wasn't even looking to shoot. Terance Mann, he only played 10 minutes. He had a beautiful reverse layup, let 1 3 fly, very good shot. It was in and out. And then other than that, I don't know if he got charged with a field goal attempt when he tried to drive into 2 players and it was tough spacing. He didn't see the open man, but he was just okay. I love that liveliness from him in the beginning of the game, but he was just okay. 1 for 4 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 2 points, 3 boards. I like that he rebounded a bit, but only played 10 minutes. And then Amir Coffey came in. I actually thought he was decent, but very late in the game, which makes me wonder, is Amir Coffey one of the odd men out this year? I don't know. I think we need guys like Amir. 7 points, 1 board, 3 for 6 in the field, 1 for 3 from deep. Jordan Miller, 6 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal and a block, 1 for 3 from the field, 0 for 1 from 3, 4 for 6 from the line. I didn't see much from him to make me say, Jordan Miller deserves some rotation minutes right now. But again, just one preseason game. However, for those guys, these preseason games are important because, like, I don't think on opening night you're gonna see Jordan Miller minutes against Phoenix. I just don't see that. Kobe Brown actually played 27 minutes. He played a lot. And I have to say this about Kobe. His defensive instincts, and I've repeated this a lot, are very good off the ball. He knows where to be. He's strong and can guard bigger guys. I think the fear for him is like, or should I say the concern for him is, can he stay with guys laterally? But if he's not guarding like the elite guards, I think he's fine, honestly, defensively. And he's got good size. It's more, can he make shots at a frequent enough rate at a high enough clip from 3 to warrant playing over certain guys? Because it's not like Kobe Brown can't get into a rotation across the league. Maybe he could, but you're competing against some good players. Like, it's not like Amir Coffey is some slouch. Like, he's a good player. He's a solid guy. So Kobe Brown, 11 points, 9 rebounds. I love to see that. 1 assist, 2 steals on 5 for 10 shooting. 1 for 4 from 3, though. So there you go. 1 for 4 from 3. And a lot of those buckets were later in the game. Cam Christie came in, didn't shoot very well. 1 for 5 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3. Just 3 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. I'll say this about Cam Christie. He lets it fly, and I love that. He has no fear. Clippers in this game shot 38.5%. Warriors shot just 34%. So there were some really great stretches of Clipper defense, and they were even being acknowledged by the Bay Area commentating team of Bob Fitzgerald and Kalena Azubuike. They were giving us some props with our defensive pressure, especially in that second half. And it was with KPJ on the floor, with Kris Dunn on the floor. And there's Kai Jones. I haven't mentioned Kai Jones, some of the Locked On Clippers commenters' favorite player. I thought in the first half he looked like a deer in the headlights, didn't know where to be, wasn't boxing out. But in the second half, he was getting offensive rebounds. He was showing some athleticism. He was contesting shots well. So there might be a player in there. I think he's somebody I'm interested in seeing more of. But my overall takeaway is what worries me is it's a lot of Harden. He's not Houston Harden. I think our offense could get very stagnant between him, KPJ, Bones. We just got to really look to move the ball and throw it into Zoo. I want Norm to continue to be aggressive. But without Kawhi, the moral of the story is without Kawhi, we're not very good. We're really not very good. I don't know if that's breaking news to anyone. I think Harden will be able to, get us to tread water with his ceiling raising, his floor raising. His ability to get an average group of players and create shots for them all night and get a win. But against good defenses, I don't know if he can do that consistently anymore. And the brand of offense is tough to watch. Defensively, though, looking pretty good. But coming up, by the way, before I go to the next segment, I want to read some of the turnover numbers. Zubats, he had 3 turnovers. James Harden had 2 turnovers. Derrick Jones had 2 turnovers. Kris Dunn had 4. Kai Jones had 2. KPJ had 4. So we had 20 turnovers. That's not great. Lindy Waters III made the game-winning shot. Good for him. I mean, I got nothing to say about the Warriors. This is Locked On Clips. Clippers outscored the Warriors 41-38 in the second half. We ended up losing by 1. It is what it is. But coming up, going to be talking about the PJ Tucker situation. What happened with him this weekend? Going to be talking about that coming up. I got to tell you a little something about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. For the NBA, there's already bets you can place on FanDuel for opening night. But for the NBA Finals right now, the Boston Celtics have the highest odds at plus 320, then OKC at 650. The leading candidate to be the NBA Finals matchup right now is Celtics against OKC at plus 1,000. So again, all these odds are on FanDuel right now. Jason Tatum is currently the favorite to win Finals MVP. So go to FanDuel to check that out. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the promising defense of the Clippers makes me optimistic. The way Zubats looked good. James Harden did some really great things. I liked how he was passing the ball when he was coming up the court, like hit-ahead passes to try to increase pace a bit. Norm was fantastic. And the defensive potential of this team looks good, and it's going to be even better with Nico and Kawhi. What worries me is we don't have many great offensive players. We don't have many creators. We're relying on James Harden a lot. And I feel as though with KPJ Bones and James Harden, it could be very stagnant ball pounding with the ball not moving. And that's not going to be great for other guys. And yeah, without Kawhi, we're not a very good team. I don't think that's breaking news, though. And I don't need more than a preseason game to know that. We're not going to be very good without Kawhi. But with Kawhi, we could be very good. Now, PJ Tucker, there's been, how do I put this? It hasn't really been smooth since PJ Tucker got here. I think the Clippers never really cared. Well, I think they gave him a chance in the beginning and realized, look, he's kind of washed. And then PJ Tucker couldn't accept that. Coming off the bench, eventually complained his way into the lineup. Started game 6 of the first round last year, which was appalling from Ty Lue. And now it comes out on October 6th, on Sunday, that the Clippers and PJ Tucker have mutually agreed that he won't be with the team for the time being as they work to find him a new place. I don't know who's going to take on that contract. I don't know who's going to want him. He's getting paid $11 million this year, but it is an expiring deal. Who knows if he even wants to stay in the league after this year. He's got some experience. He's got some toughness. He's got some veteran leadership. The thing about PJ is he will not shoot the ball willingly anymore from 3. He doesn't get the same elevation on those threes, and he's not nearly the same defender that he once was. So essentially, he's an offensive liability that's not nearly the same defender he once was. He'll get an occasional offensive rebound or 2 per game, but it's not enough to warrant minutes on a championship contending team. So we'll see. We will see what happens with him. Last season, PJ Tucker was sent away from the team with bones on February 14th, so on Valentine's Day, with 1 game left for the All-Star break to clear their minds because they were both not really happy with, their roles. PJ Tucker has not liked his lack of playing time, and he was fined $75,000 by the league for what they described as comments about expressing a desire to be traded. He told ESPN that he was actively trying to get traded in February, so he said, I want to be somewhere where I'm needed, wanted, and can do it all. I just think PJ Tucker, I talked about this with James Harden a couple episodes ago. They have a delusional sense of confidence, a sense of, and that's what makes them great. But I don't think PJ Tucker's got anything left in the tank. And this is coming from a guy who likes PJ Tucker, who met him as a kid and has met him twice. And the first time especially, he was super nice to me and my family. So I thought PJ Tucker in Miami and Milwaukee and Houston was tier 1 role player. Like, he's exactly the kind of guy you need to win chips. He's just not that anymore. If we got 2021 PJ Tucker, I would be ecstatic right now. But that's not who we have. It would actually be perfect for this team. 3-and-D, play the 4. Like, it would be excellent. But it's not that guy anymore. So I wish PJ the best. I hope we can get anything for him, even if it's a second-round pick or no one's giving him a first-round pick for PJ Tucker. Second-round pick would be nice, though. Maybe 2 second-rounders. So that's what I got. The next preseason game will be on Tuesday against the, who are we even playing? This freaking ESPN scoreboard only goes up to 1 day after. Tuesday, October 8th, we're playing the Brooklyn Nets at Front Wave Arena in Oceanside. That game will be at 7:30 local time. So we'll see how that goes against Brooklyn. Just another chance to see our boys on the court, seeing them develop, seeing them build habits together. Great to see Jeff Van Gundy on the sideline. And great to see our jerseys. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Let me know what you thought of the game. I want to hear all your thoughts. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, for even more LA Clipper, LA Sports, and NBA content. And Locked On Clippers is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. We did get to 6,000 before the season started, which is amazing. I thank you all for that. Let's keep on going and pass up these other teams, because I'll tell you what, we've got the most underrated fan base in the league, the most loyal fans in the league, and let's keep on showing them what we are made of. The age-old proverb continues. Go Clippers, and also go Dodgers.